For this module, you will produce a video game in a team using Java. You must use Java. Team projects and Java. And time pressure. 7 weeks for a prototype and 7 more to finish. Oh, and let's also sprinkle some Vulkan into the mix, shall we? Challenge accepted. First thing I do is set up a project template. I've heard lots of horror stories of how team projects go bad and how Java projects go bad. I'm no stranger to that either. Last year's robotics, I pretty much had to do all the work by myself. Anticipating disaster, I try to make the template as robust as it can possibly be. That includes using Maven as the build system, which in theory means there's no IDE weirdness. More on that in a bit. And setting up continuous integration, which builds, tests, and checks code styling, all before it even has a chance of being merged into the main branch. I set these up before I even knew who I was working with, because disaster is imminent. Throughout the week I was thinking, what game we could be making? Our assignment stressed these key points: competitive play, multiplayer, and AI. Come on, it's literally a first-person shooter, isn't it? In addition, I've always wanted to make some good 3D graphics, but it always seemed to me like unnecessarily too much work, so I would put it off. But now, I finally had a reason to go ahead and make some graphics. So, I took upon Vulkan, I started reading the tutorial, and slowly but surely started to chip away towards a triangle. Now, we all finally met up and decided to try out how the Git repo worked. Remember how I mentioned IDE weirdness? Yeah, the whole setup was a total disaster. Yet, somehow we managed and started discussing project ideas. I threw out the FPS one and got quite a bit of skepticism. And it's actually fair. 3D logic is not that trivial, and I didn't think of all the additional systems we would need, like physics engine. Physics engines are hard to make, so we needed something else. And I thought, a strategy game. I mean, it all works on 2D. Like the logic. It seemed much more realistic, and the team was much more optimistic. And I still wanted to make it 3D in the end. I just didn't want to stress my team out with. It was kind of my hidden agenda, you could say. But we had a game. Oh, I also had this interesting idea, which involved expeditions to Germany as a game mechanic, but we sort of scrapped it because of time management. The game we ended up with was a Civ 6 lag game on a hexagon grid, which functions sort of like a Risk board game. Essentially, you start off with a capital and are able to build buildings on the tiles nearby. And whenever you border enemy territory, you're able to attack. With some RNG, it is decided whether you win or lose. If you win, you take over their building. And the goal is to take over all capitals. It could be fun. Don't know. Well, it's now time to implement it. Coding wise, I worked on the render for about 5 weeks. Yes, 5 weeks, while we had 7 for a prototype. Just keep this time frame in mind. But first, let's go through what the rest of the team were doing. We decided to do a lot of prep work before actually starting coding. So right here, you can see our requirements document. We used this quite stupidly named Moscow convention to list and tag features based on whether they are a must, a should, a could, or want to have. I and 2 other teammates worked a bit on the engine design, you know, describing the core layout, the main loop, and drawing some diagrams for some of the core classes. Like right here, you can see the renderable component. It has a material, a mesh, and needs access to transform. And what it does? It makes the object appear on the screen. Another key thing I did was describe the network architecture, because I've already done a networking project in the past, many years ago, but wasn't the one implementing it. Well, asterisks on that. I am very lucky with the team I've got. Maybe it was all this prep work we did ahead of time, or mandatory code reviews, or continuous integration that made things go rather smoothly. But we never had any constant issues. Like, we had some things happen that made me angry, but they were tiny ones, like teammates messing up the Git repo, which I would just go in and roll back into a workable state. But then there was this one thing that was very, very infuriating, and had to do with networking. You see, GitHub Actions is our CI, and it allows for 2000 minutes of free CI usage on private repos, which is about 33 hours. Now, the networking code got stuck during testing, and it ran for about as long as GitHub Actions allow by default. Now, how long do GitHub Actions allow to run by default? 6 hours. Oh, and also, the tests also ran in the build phase. Oh, one final thing. There were 2 commits that were booked. At the time, I was playing CSGO, and then I saw it. And I was like, look, I'm not gonna do the reaction, just have a look at the text messages instead. I then immediately rushed and put a 2-minute cap on all GitHub Actions and didn't look back ever since. The rest is going smoothly. Like I said, I was very lucky with the team I got. One teammate was working on the engine skeleton, while the other on audio, and there was also quite a lot of documentation that needed to be going. And while the render was still slowly going forwards, there was enough time to plan things out. Now the renderer. Are you ready? I started off with almost nothing but a triangle. And then I made it into a hexagon, then I make it spin, then I add another triangle, add perspective and all that fun stuff. This is about the point where I make a few live streams, but I didn't continue with them because they were rather boring and would kind of distract me from the actual process. I think the last thing I did on stream was depth testing, and the things afterwards were rather interesting. Yeah, I also had to do UI. Here's how that worked out. Oh, and what's the time frame? I finally got it working. Now, there were issues with perspective, but I got around them. Now, it's finally time to go ahead and to make a game. I went through a bit of networking rewrite and got clients to work, which is very nice. And oh yeah, we also have just one more day till the prototype demonstration. Oh, the last day was a long one. We start with no game whatsoever. It's crunch times 11 time. Oh, the complaining. Oh, the workload. Oh, the integration horrors. All the pain for a single magical moment in the evening.
Okay. Now I'm gonna fill the game with AI, and you got to outbuild them.
Outbuild them. Oh god. God.
It's actually working.
I'm sending stuff. So it's seriously like I feel like there's
This is like playing Go.
right.
Okay, so now also if I close the server,
Yep, we're back to
There we go.
menu.
Yeah, kicked out.
Oh, I think you can't rejoin
Beautiful.
because it's broken slightly, but
otherwise it's
utterly
good.
beautiful.
That was wonderful.
but yeah, it's wonderful. Nice.
Okay, so I think
We could
we can
demo
even
this.
demonstrate that tomorrow.
We should literally
Okay.
demo this, like that we connect over the network remotely, and we have an AI playing. I will add some effects so that you can distinguish players, and it will be sick.
Okay.
AF. With things being functional, we called it a day. Of course, I couldn't sleep, so I made a few final changes. Just look at this. Absolutely beautiful. Six weeks of visual nothingness, 1 week of crunch, and so we have a prototype. In there, we introduce our game, we show the players working, we show the buildings working, we show the AI working. Oh, and one more thing I forgot. Insert the person marking us saying this is very impressive after each of the points, because that's exactly what happened and I'm very, very proud of it. So this was it. First half of the marathon, done and dusted. The question is, what next? How about this? And this. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Our game is still far from finished and we've got over a month to do it. If you don't want to miss that, hit subscribe for more content like this. And if you liked it, overflow the like button. You know, it helps the channel absolutely tremendously. And don't forget, my name was Heap, yours wasn't defined. See ya.